Welcome everybody tonight to the community development meeting starting out here right now, June 28th, 2021. Before we get started, I wanted to make an announcement that Councilwoman Donna Mitchell informed the clerk's office and myself that she would be absent tonight. So just wanted to let everybody know. Okay, first item on the agenda is the approval of the regular CD meeting minutes from April 26th, February 22nd, February 16th, and January 25th. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion and seconded. Do I have a question on the motion? Question. All those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 2 is the matter of a request for a liquor license transfer submitted by River Road Venture LTD to be transferred to Elyria Wing Company doing business as Buffalo Wild Wings and Patio, located at 239 Midway Boulevard in Elyria. This would be a permit classes D1, D2, D3, D3A, and D6. Safety Service Director Brubaker notified the clerk's office that there were no issues with the background on this and that we could proceed. Are there any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll move that the city does not request a hearing.
Second. Okay, motion has been made and seconded.
Question.
Question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. The next is the matter of a request for a liquor license transfer submitted by Dama Shana Incorporated to be transferred to Dale's Market and Deli LLC, located at 417 Cleveland Street, Elyria. Permit C1, C2, D6. Again, Safety Service Director Brubaker notified the clerk's office that there were no issues with the background. Do I have anybody that has any questions or comments? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
If there's no questions, I'll move that the city does not request a hearing.
Second. Motion has been made, seconded.
Question.
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next item is the matter of accepting a final plat for the final plat for the Ridge Water Subdivision Phase 1. Who is speaking on this item today from the city?
Through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Yost is here today. The final plat was approved by Planning Commission June 1st of this year. There's just a request that this matter would go forward to full council and be approved under suspension of rules.
Okay.
And I believe that the plats have been, or copies have been submitted to committee. Thank you, circulated, that's a good word, to committee members.
Yes. Okay. Yes, thank you.
Mr. Farkas is here as well.
Mr. Farkas, did you want to weigh in or? Oh, Mr. Schneider, I'm sorry. Go right ahead, Mr. Schneider.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We've reviewed the final plat for Phase 1. We have no issues, and we did recommend it, Planning Commission to accept. So they're underway. Everything's being built according to our standards, and so far, no issues. So
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Are there any questions? I see Mr. Brubaker has his hand up.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman, I did speak with Mr. Yost this evening, and he is asking if, since this is under suspension of rules, if it can be declared an emergency as well, so that it can be done if it's appropriate.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I also spoke with Mr. Yost. We've reviewed this matter in the Law Director's office. This would not fit the criteria for an emergency under Ohio law, but that it would go forward under suspension of rules, and that it would take effect then in 30 days after passage. And I believe Mr. Yost finds that acceptable, if not desirable.
Thank you, Law Director Derry. Are there any other questions, comments? Mr. Yost is here in the audience tonight if anybody does have any questions. Appears no one does, so I'm going to read the committee report. We have considered the matter of a final plat for the Ridgewater subdivision Phase 1, an ordinance authorizing the approval of the final plat for Phase 1 of the said subdivision. This plat was approved by the Planning Commission on June 1st, 2021. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion has been made and seconded.
Question?
Question on the motion. All those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Yost. Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask Mr. Stewart to please call Finance.
I'll call Finance to order.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. I have a couple items here on the agenda. First is the approval of the May 24th, February 22nd, February 8th Joint Community Development and Finance Meeting Minutes. Could I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Question?
Question on the motion. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, the next item is the matter of two proposed programs for the American Rescue Plan for Small Businesses Assistance and Public Service. These are similar to the CARES Act funding. Director Scott.
Thank you. So the Community Development Department and the administration have been working together to form two proposed programs for the American Rescue Plan funding. One would be a public service program, and the other one would be small business assistance. We shaped these programs to mirror what was previously approved with the CARES Act funding, with the exception of, this American Rescue Plan money has a few additional regulations, criteria that we need to make sure that we're following. So I'm going to go over the public service program real briefly with you. We do have a couple of nonprofits in the audience tonight who have requested to speak on behalf of this program, and then Ms. Calvert is going to go ahead and go over the small business portion. So as far as the requirements go for the public service program, the public service definition, this could be food delivery to residents, it could be food banks, expenses to facilitate internet access, employment and training programs, evidence-based community violence intervention programs, educational services, evidence-based practices to address social, emotional, and mental health needs, et cetera. The nonprofits that would apply, they would have to first identify a need that is present and how their program specifically would address that need and how that relates to COVID. The process would be nonprofits would be able to submit applications to the Community Development Department. We will review them for eligibility and to make sure all of the files, I guess, are in place. And then we would go ahead and, grant funding in collaboration with the mayor's office, just as we did with the CARES Act. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer. And like I said, there are a couple of nonprofits that would like to speak.
Okay, I see Mr. Tolet first.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Two questions I have. The first one is on internet funding. Isn't that something that could potentially be covered under the act that's pending in the Senate right now that was just approved, infrastructure bill? And my question number two in that same regards, food assistance. Isn't that something that's being offered through the state of Ohio? And what we would do is be duplicating that same program? If you could answer both of those.
Through you, I am not that familiar with that first bill that you were speaking of regarding the infrastructure, and if that would mirror what we're proposing to do here. I do know that the internet access is just an eligible part of this recovery money. As far as the food banks go, there are funding sources throughout the state that do provide funding for food banks and food assistance, but once again, that is an eligible activity within these program guidelines as well.
So it is not a duplication?
As far as the duplication of benefit would go, I mean, food assistance is food assistance, so whether they're getting the money from, you know, this pot or that pot, we would have to make sure, though, that we're not duplicating expenses. So the nonprofit would have to verify if they're receiving, you know, $1,000, we'll say, for food assistance, they can't charge us under our program funds for that same food. It would have to be for something else. So that's how we would verify a duplication of benefit, but there are other pots of money available.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Whitfield, and then it'll be Mrs. Davis.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, and it's good to see you in person for sure.
Thank you, Mayor.
So just to piggyback off of Director Scott, in terms of the internet access, this is more speaking to what we've been doing with Windstream in terms of the computer training part. The infrastructure bill is really going to be aimed at, even stuff coming through the state, is really looked at the broadband infrastructure within communities. So it's a little different. And then in terms of what Director Scott mentioned and around duplication, I think we're going to be very sensitive to make sure we talked about this last meeting, we're going to be very sensitive to make sure we're not duplicating anything going on at the state or anything going on even with the county. And so you'll hear some comments later from one of the nonprofits about some of the gaps that exist with the state funding and other funding that's out there and how we might play a role in those gaps.
So just to piggyback on that, so this is actually training, internet training, nothing to do with installation or operation of the subset.
Yep, and through you, Chair, again, administratively, you know, with your support and guidance, we'll make sure we put kind of guardrails on things that we may not be interested in anyway. So there's certain topics that is eligible but may not be priorities. So we think that in collaboration with you all, as well as hearing from the community, we'll be able to see what those priorities are and just stick to that lane.
Mrs. Davis.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So with the small business, how are you going to get the information out? You know, people are still like hesitant to, so are you going to use the internet on our website at the city, or are you going to use the paper? Or how are you going to get it out to let them know that you have this available for the small businesses?
Through you, I don't want to speak on behalf of Dawn, but, you know, as far as advertising for these funds go, we will utilize social media. If you would like, we could put something in the newspaper advertising this money. Any avenues you would suggest or like to see us go down, we can definitely look into that. But like I said, I don't want to step on Dawn's toes, but do you have any other suggestions or?
Time I get a question.
Yes, go right ahead, Mr.
Ashley. So going back to what Mr. Tolet had said about in regards to duplication of service, do we know what the county is doing in regards to these public services? Are we working with them? I guess my question would be so is it individual or a group? If they're following our guidelines, how we've established something here, are they able to, I wouldn't think, be able to go to the county to do the same thing and kind of, is that how that system works, or is this, and then on that question, the follow-up was what plans are different in this round of ARP funds as compared to the CARES Act. So if whoever wants to comment on that.
Through you, Chair, I think when you hear Salvation Army's kind of gap analysis of what they're seeing, you'll see how the county dollars, the gap that still exists with the resources that they have. And then in terms of just following what the county's doing, we have had a number of meetings with them, and they've expressed interest in partnering with us and kind of watching how what we're supporting and kind of getting behind those causes. I know Director Scott mentioned food assistance earlier, and Neighborhood Alliance is now at the YMCA, and a part of what their proposition is going to be to council is going to be a larger project, but what they're looking at is expanding their food delivery program, their Meals on Wheels and food services in the city of Elyria that'll serve the county. And so they'll be bringing that to us. So it's not just the pantry sort of food, it's also delivering meals to seniors who may still feel unsafe going out or may just need that Meals on Wheels, because there's a waiting list that exists now. So again, we're going to be very conscious of duplication and make sure that we're not duplicating what's already out there and leveraging what's out there. And I think, again, when you hear the Salvation Army, you're kind of hear how we're hoping they serve as somewhat of a triage, that when they come in there, they'll do the magic making to see, okay, I'm going to use this pot of money from the county to serve this one, and you're not eligible for that, so I'm going to use the city pot of money for that, which is what they've been doing already.
Was the CARES funds for the public service all used up?
Through you, the CARES Act funds were spent.
Okay.
Mr. Tolet.
Through you, Mr. Chair. The last thing, the final set of rules won't be completed, I think, until July 14th. Are we slightly jumping the gun a little bit on earmarking funds until the final set of rules come out? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And through you, Chair. So yes, the final rule is they'll stop taking comment July 14th, but they've already provided guidance in these areas already. So we're not shooting in the dark. We've met with the Ohio Budget Management Office. We've met with the Treasury Department. There's already guidance that they've done for these sort of programs. But a sidebar I will say, though, is that if you all have feedback that you want us to provide to the U.S. Treasury, to please send that to us so we can let them know. Because I know last meeting there were some concerns around utility assistance. There were some concerns around no seniors were mentioned in this guidance. So if there's any feedback you all want, please send that to me, and we'll make sure that becomes a part of our feedback to the Treasury. But yes, we do have enough guidance now, and there's cities all around, like they're moving forward with projects.
Okay, are there any other questions? If not, does Dawn want to speak at this time, or?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So much like Director Scott said, we pretty much mirrored the CARES Act program for the small business grant program. So one of the changes, it's relatively minor, but this is from the ARP guidelines that we've received, is that for eligibility, the small business must prove that they have financing the challenges, that the funds must be used for financing the challenges of growth and stability, and they have to have suffered an economic hardship resulting from COVID-19. So they would have to demonstrate that through the application process to be eligible for these funds. So again, very similar to the CARES Act, the funds can be used for reconfiguring operations, reopening, or any other costs associated with COVID-19 or incurred as a direct response to economic hardship resulting from COVID-19. So the program is written again for up to $50,000 in grant funds to small businesses. The funds would be, the expenses would have to be incurred between March 3rd, 2021 through December 30th, 2022. The March 3rd is the date provided by the ARP guidelines. It cannot precede that date. And then we would be going through the same process we did with those CARES Act funds. So we would have the Economic Development Committee review the applications, approve the applications, and then bring forward to City Council.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Okay. Seeing none, was there someone in the audience that wanted to speak in regards to this topic? Sir, just please your name and address of organization for the record.
My name is Roger Dorsey. Address is 160 Burns Road, Elyria, Ohio. I am the Executive Director of Good Nights of Lorain County. We have, last June, amidst the COVID, we were part of a national organization that builds beds and provides them to kids, and we had been doing that for 2 years. We saw the need so great here in Lorain County that we started Good Nights. And since last September, our kickoff last September, we were able to deliver 100 beds to the children in Wilkes Villa. One day since our kickoff in September, we've delivered over 260 beds to children in Elyria, Lorain, and all throughout Lorain County. As many of you know, with volunteers being down and donations being down, we've continued to go forward with private donations and in-kind donations. And our goal coming into this year was to be able to deliver 1,200 beds to children around Lorain County, and probably between 500 and 600 of those beds would be delivered to kids in Elyria. If we are able to get a grant from the city, 100% of the money that we are given will go directly into putting 260 kids in beds, whether those kids live in Midway Crossing, whether they live in Colonial Oaks, whether they live on the east side of Elyria, which is where I grew up. I got involved in this because as a child, 10 to 11 years old, I moved from West Virginia to live with my mom. And those first few years that we were here, the closet was my bed. So I know where these kids are at. And amidst the COVID, many of them have been locked in, I'd say locked in, many of them have been sheltered in homes. And a lot of these kids, I would say 80+% of them, when we give them a bed, that's the only thing they own. They've got groups that are giving them food, clothing, and they need that, and shelter. But for many of these kids, that's all they have. And to be able to see these kids finally be able to lay their heads down on a pillow in their own bed is worth it. We are an all-volunteer organization. From myself, the executive director, Jeff Baxter is our president. We all volunteer all of our time. As I said, 100% of any funds would be accounted for. It would buy raw lumber to build the beds, mattresses, sheets, pillows, pillowcases, and blankets to be able to provide it to the children.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Okay, Mr. Baird.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I don't have any questions, just comments. I've seen some of this, what's transpired, and it's very enlightening, very positive impact, and you've reinforced that. Certainly, I think that there'll be room somewhere for something when you do such good work and with all volunteers, because you don't get these things that you have to build them with and sheets and so on. Get a lot of donations.
Yes, sir.
But from that sort of thing, from our local and businesses and I would say Sears and J.C. Penney, but they're not doing as much now, but the other ones that do provide those products, the sheets and blankets and so on. So hopefully, I think we'll probably be able to do that because it is a very worthwhile endeavor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Baird. I tend to agree with you 100% in regards to your comments. Thank you. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions, comments from anyone on the panel?
Mr. Count, is this just in regards to the Good Nights or just overall? I mean, to me, I think what's fabulous what you do. and the group that you're involved with. I think it's just tremendous. It's just speaks volumes of the character of the Good Knights. I guess a question, just I know it's been cleared out, just that there's no duplication of service. If we need to move money into different accounts, you know, like we did with the CARES Act, you know, if like, for example, maybe there's a need more for this into the public service or for the economic small business, does that hold true here? I just want to.
Yep, I appreciate that, and through you, Chair. You know, part of what I'm hoping that we walk away from today is let's open it up and see what's out there. You know, both with the small business and with our community organizations, to open up our portals so that we can start to get applications, see what's out there, and you know, make an assessment about what those needs are and then what the requests are. I think even when we're thinking about small businesses, there was so much criteria around the CARES Act money where it was only for reconfiguration and reopening. So as we sat in those economic development committee meetings, we saw businesses and like, we can't help because our hands are tied. So with these resources, we have an opportunity to just open it up, see what comes in, and then we can bring that back to you to say, hey, here's what we got. We got 30 applications in this space, 20 in here. Looks like there's not that great of a need on this area. We need more here, but at least start us with a base and allow us to open up the portal so we can start to see what comes in.
Mr. Chair, has there been any comments in regards to the CARE Act? Have we gotten anything back from them as far as, I know they did their review, I guess, forgive me for the lack of, I know there was a process with that, but has that come back yet, their findings in regards to that, you know?
Through you, Mr. Chair, the audit is basically wrapping up probably within the next month. The CARES Act money was the focus of the Single Audit Act because it outdistanced the block grant fund as far as receipts. So their focus was on the CARES Act money, but the results have not come in yet. So they had a lot of questions, looking at a lot of different things, but the report is not done yet.
Okay, and is this more stringent? I'm hearing this go around of dollars and funds?
Yeah, through you, Chair. So yeah, this has a lot more reporting requirements on these from the face value it looks like. So that's a part of what Director Scott will work with these organizations to make sure they know from day one this money comes with strings, and so you have to demonstrate that you have the capacity to, you know, follow through on the reporting requirements in order to get the funding, and we'll build that into the sub-agreement.
And when are we looking to kind of put this into play as far as?
Through you, Chair. So we think if we can open up the portal at our July 6th meeting, we wouldn't administer any grants until after August 1. So there'd be a month of just taking in intake where we wouldn't issue any dollars out. We would just open up the portal. What do you got? What are you thinking? And then in August, probably mid-August after our August council meeting, start to, you know, allocate funds out.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. That organization and many other organizations do provide a lot of good. Obviously, this is a good starting point. This is new for us, and we should be looking, you know, exploring new opportunities as this goes further. There is somebody else that wanted to speak? Yeah, name and address of organization for the record.
Sorry. I usually have a loud voice, but I know we're being recorded. So I want to say thank you to City Council for allowing the Salvation Army to participate in the CARES Act money. We've been able to help a significant number of families in Elyria, and so we are very grateful for that opportunity. But I wanted just to speak to you a little bit about what we've discovered about some unmet needs in our community. So we work really closely with United Way, and through the 211 service, we've been able to glean this data from them. That there has been 43% of unmet need calls that have come into 211 have been around mortgage assistance. The wonderful opportunity that folks have with Job and Family Services to receive assistance with rent and utilities is fabulous, and we have been regularly referring individuals to that program, again, so that we're not duplicating services and so that we're making sure that we're utilizing dollars the best way that we can. But those dollars do not cover anybody who owns their home, nor people who own their home neither can they also receive any of the utility assistance from that program because they're not renters. So there is a population of folks who have had significant COVID-related problems in their situation that now they can't get the assistance. And so we would like to see a portion of these dollars to be focused in on mortgage. Obviously, we know that when people become foreclosed, it just causes a whole nother set of problems, right, with blight and other things in our community. So we want to keep people in their homes, whether they're renters or whether they're homeowners. So that is an area of kind of unmet need. The other unmet needs that we found was always continuing to be utilities, whether that's gas, electric, and water. That is a long-term effect that people tend to have. 24% of families were saying that they could not get their need met for that. Also things, as you just said, phone and internet continues to be an unmet need. There are no programs out there for assistance, direct family assistance for phone or internet. So that is definitely an unmet need. And we continue to see people who cannot get into shelter, who are homeless, or who are facing homelessness or eviction, and have nowhere to go. So that continues to be an ongoing unmet need. So at the Salvation Army, our mission is really to meet human need wherever we can, and to do that in the best way that we can. One of our mantras that we kind of tote is, we want to do the most good for the most people in the most need. And so we always are looking at ways that we can provide the needs that are unmet in our community in a way that make sure that we're not duplicating, make sure that we're really focusing in on that. So to do that, our social work office has a really good handle on everything that's available in the county. We do a fabulous job of referring people to other resources as they may be able to access those. We've, in our building, the Job and Family Service Program, awesome program, but you have to apply online. Some people don't have the skill to do that. They don't have internet at home, or it's just too confusing. And so we have almost every week, my caseworker has appointments with people where they come to our office and she sits down with them and she helps them get the application done. So again, we're trying to do whatever it is that we can do to make sure that families and people in our community have what they need. So just for your consideration, we just asked you to think about the greater purposes, and even though there is significant dollars out there to help people, there are people who are falling through the cracks, and we want to make sure that we do the best that we can to kind of firm up those cracks in the best way we can. And one of those things that we're doing at the Salvation Army is we're getting ready to open an after-school learning center. We know there's great after-school programming in the city of Elyria, but there's still kids who are falling through the cracks. So again, just another example of how we do our very best to make sure that everyone's needs are met. So again, if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them. And just know that the nonprofits really do work together. We do our very best to make sure that we're not duplicating and that we're able to serve as many families and individuals as possible.
I do have a question.
Yeah.
So I just want to clarify. So maybe the mayor or Ashley wants to weigh in on this. So is this for individuals who don't qualify if they own their home? Is that, or is it just strictly people who are renting and getting the assistance for pay rent and for utilities?
Yep.
So, yeah, the current Job and Family, the program at Job and Family Service right now is specifically for renters. So there is no mortgage assistance in that program. And so we're getting a lot of calls for that and doing our best to help them. But I think that, as many dollars that can be put into that area would be beneficial, definitely.
Okay, thank you.
And through you, Chair, we have one more guest that wanted to speak, Mr. Dante. As you can recall, Dante, you can make your way up. I sent you all an email a couple months ago prior to getting warm and opening up around let's try to get ahead of summer violence. We know kids been pinned up. They get out and, playing basketball, frustrations. This is the natural teenage behavior, but let's get ahead of it and find ways to intervene and and also prevent violence from happening. And, we see what's happening around us in our neighboring cities. So I started convening a group of community folks, and we had a series of meetings. We did some job fairs to try to sign up young people for summer jobs. We actually have one of them through Ohio Means Jobs. It's going to be starting this week. But that's kind of the context in which Dante, he's been participating in those meetings and helping us figure out how do we intervene and how do we start to get ahead of any sort of outbreaks of violence, and how do we build relationships with those young people and get them on the right track. So, Mr. Tillman, thank you for being here.
All right. And thank you as well for having me. So as you said, my name is Dante.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Name and address of the organization for the record.
Okay. My name is Dante Tillman. Stay 245 George Street is my address. I'm not currently part of an organization. Just speaking on behalf of the mayor there. And so I just prepared a few notes, and I just want to try to get you guys to kind of understand where we're at with it. So at-youth risks are often the ones who can kind of benefit most from opportunities of personal development and essential life skills provided by youth development programs. I've heard a lot of things like that as well today. But however, disenfranchised youth or those at risk of dropping out of school or involved in the juvenile system, runaways and homeless, they seldom benefit from the traditional style of these youth programs. So as a result of evaluation of the youth programs, often they do not show a great deal of impact for these at-risk audiences, and they're very hard to reach. So I have posed the question, how can we begin to engage in this important population? And leaving the comfort of traditional programming while engaging in non-youth traditional settings can also help bring the disconnected youth into our programs. This will result in youth being more apt to participate and enable the development of professionals and communities to target these unreachable audiences. Having the ability to be implemented in diverse communities, settings, populations, and capitalize on already existing resources within each site. Building on existing social networks to create awareness for the programs and opportunities and really getting the word out there to the people. And providing activities that appeal to the youth, that may not be your traditional style of after-school programs or, but just trying to really find a way to appeal to the youth. Providing incentive programs may be something that we may take a further look at, and also utilizing peer training, meaning that we need to reach out to these children and find out how we can get them to start communicating with each other. I was just telling the mayor not too long ago that I was actually picking up a kid from West Park, and I ended up breaking up a fight of, some peers. And when I got to the bottom of the situation, I found out that they were just basically arguing and fussing and fighting because they didn't know each other. And which sounds very petty to, adults, but it's a real disconnect within the kids nowadays. So I believe that building partnerships between agencies and youth development programs that help reach out to these specific audiences within the youth. Also, piggybacking off of existing programs out there, there's some good ones to take a look at that we can definitely create the same success here within our own community. The youth development partnering agencies, that serve our at-risk youth as such as the detention centers and things like that. We need to even interact with them to see how that we can actually, what do they actually need to try to help turn this thing around. Community development involves creating opportunity for young people to connect with each other and develop skills and utilize those skills, which allows them to contribute and be contributing members of the actual community. So those are some things that I have noticed and things that I've seen, and things that hopefully we're going to work forward to bring to the community.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are there any questions? Mr. Baird?
Yeah, I'm not sure I heard. please, if you have a chance, please. I think you mentioned the hardest problem, or the biggest problem, is identifying that group and how do you get to them. I'm not sure I heard a solution to that, or how do you do that? If you know. And
I mean, like, it's definitely a difficult and strenuous process, but I believe that people such as myself, people who can get out here and actually get involved with the community, who are not afraid of these youth, and just get in front of them. Like I said, it was a fight of about 10 people. I jumped in the middle of it. Like, you know what? This is enough. So it's going to take a lot of courage, and it's going to take a lot of strong-minded individuals who are just willing to put it on the line and really get to them. And then ultimately, I also I mentioned that peer-to-peer, also reaching out to the youth, the younger generation, and having them not actually police themselves, but actually get them to start talking about what is it that we need to do. Like, I was also thought about a program, or maybe not an actual like a clubhouse, but a neutral ground place where these kids can actually come and get to know each other. During my days as a youth, we had an Asbury program that was terrific for these type of things. And I think that we need to get back to the like I said, the non-traditional ways of trying to just engage our youth.
Okay, I give you a lot of credit because, as you say, it takes a lot of courage to do this, get out there, because your concern is you aren't sure what's going to happen to the individuals who are out there trying to make the younger people understand and respect you. At least I think that's my perception. Whether that's actually true or not, you're a better judge of that than I am. But I give you all the credit it's obviously a good step, and it's looking to nip it in the bud, as they say, and that's what we need to do. We've been very fortunate thus far in our city. I gave the police chief congratulations here a couple months ago about, I think, our police force, through the training they've had, additional training in their attitudes, that being in the schools and so on. Of course, when you didn't have much school last year, we lost all that. Right. But I said our interaction with our youth and with the community we haven't experienced the kinds of problems that other communities our size or larger particularly have had with that. So I give you all the encouragement, and thank you for doing it.
Thank you again.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Oswald.
Mr. Chairman, so where's the involvement of the parents? I know right now that a lot of times there's single family and all that. Is the parents not even around at this point? Where's the help you're getting from the family?
This is the reason why I kind of called it, like said, the at-risk kids in the community, because a lot of them just don't have this foundation that some of us were blessed with. And I think that we need to get back to it takes a community to raise a child. I'm pretty sure that if parents were to see, things changing and us trying to implement something, I'm pretty sure that they'll be the laggards that eventually come aboard. But I think us as a community, this is our community. So we have to be the ones to really step up. Like I said, a lot of parents, even during the time of pandemic and things like that, a lot of parents don't know where their next meal is coming from, let alone to be worried about why their kid is outside playing. And, in their mind, they're outside playing, but who knows, actually what they're outside doing. And it's just that I just think that we need to get more community orientated as far as that. And I've reached out to some parents and things like that and talked to some parents, but that's just not their main concern right now when there's not food on the table, So that's why I want us to be able to step up and let's, as a community, address these problems together.
Thank you. Mrs. Davis.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Tillman, what's the name of this organization that you're starting out?
Well, I don't know if it's actually started yet, but it was the Streets to Success program.
Yeah, so through you, Chair, again, a part of the process right now is working to figure out what this looks like, but wanting to make sure it got on your radar that, hey, this is what we're working on with community folks to figure this out, but it's still being shaped. There's no organization like, per se. We're looking at trying to partner with one of the community organizations to kind of work through to get the work done, so it's not like city staff out doing it. But, you know, it's in its infancy, and I thought it would be important to kind of hear the work that from that email months ago that, hey, we're still talking about it, we're still working on it, we're getting community involved and trying to figure out how do we keep preventing violence?
Yes.
And then when it does happen, how do we intervene in a way where everybody's safe and we can reconcile and, you know, not have, you know, retaliation going on. And, yeah, I think it'll help our police department to not have to respond to some calls that maybe they don't need to be responding to.
But through you too, Mr. Chair, do you have a target area?
Right now, I am from the south side of Elyria, but like I said, I've been from the west side to the east side, and really just trying to talk to the kids and seeing what we can actually do for them to get them out of some of these mind states and mind frames and stuff like that. So my target area is Elyria. I mean, like I said, I go all over Elyria personally, you know, and just find groups of kids just to sit down and talk to and just see where their heads are at. Luckily, like I said, last week I just so happened to be at West Park doing the same thing when the fight broke out. So therefore, like, there's no actual geographic area. Like I said, it's happening all over Elyria.
So it sounds like you're by yourself or you have help?
I do have a few other people such as myself that go out and, you know, on their own and go out and take do the same type of things on their own. Actually, and like I said, the mayor there, we've been trying to organize things like that. So the help is coming along slowly but surely.
And through you, Chair, we've had about 10 to 15 folks that have consistently participated, showed up, and wanting to be involved and roll their sleeves up. Good.
Thank
Excellent.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, again, another gentleman and possibly organization trying to provide some good for our city. City working together with volunteers is nothing but good can come out of it. So this is heartwarming, and we have people that care. We have a fantastic city, and we have fantastic people. So I want to thank everyone for your efforts. It's all on the plus side, and it's all what's good in Elyria. So thank you very much. Are there any other questions or concerns regarding the legislation, proposed ordinances? Okay. And was there anybody else that had any comments from the audience? Seeing none. We are going to read two committee reports. And the first one will be, we have considered the matter. Okay. We have considered the matter. This would be an ordinance authorizing the use of the American Rescue Plan dollars to be used for the public service program in the amount of $500,000. From Community Development, could I get a motion?
So moved.
Second. From Community Development, I have a motion and a second. Do I have a question on the motion?
Question.
Question. All those in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Can I get a motion from Finance?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Baird, second by Ms. Davis. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
Okay, item 2 is the matter of a proposed small business assistance program. This would be an ordinance authorizing the use of the American Rescue Plan dollars to be used for the Small Business Assistance Program in the amount of $500,000. Could I get a motion from Community Development?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Motion has been made. Do I have a second? Second. Do I have a question on the motion?
Question?
Question. All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. I'm sorry. How many ayes did we have on that?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Motion carried.
Could I get a motion from Finance?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Discussion. I did have a question, just one more in regards to this. So this would be, I'm guessing, a collaborative effort with the administration, the finance director, just in regards to the overseeing of everything and making sure that everything is, okay, very good. Is that our new HR person would be kind of a part of that as well? Or is that our new HR person would be a part of that as well?
I'm not sure.
Not so much with that?
Yeah,
or?
not so much with this.
Okay.
No.
Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
I didn't want you to yell.
Okay, we have no further business for the Community Development and the Finance joint meeting tonight. So at this time, I would ask to get a motion to adjourn Community Development.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded. Question on the motion?
Question?
All in favor of the motion, please use the voting sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carried. Community Development adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to continue on with Finance. First item on the agenda is the approval of the Finance meeting minutes for May 24th, 2021. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Tolet.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bear. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 2, we've considered okay. Excuse me. I didn't know if it needed to be a part of this list. Item number 2, we've considered the matter of inactive delinquent EPU accounts to be certified to the public utility accounts. A resolution authorizing the inactive delinquent public utility accounts to be certified to Lorraine County Auditor's Office per the attached. Can I get a motion?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Tolet.
Second.
Second by Ms. Davis. Any discussion? I think this is just kind of formality. If Mr. Brubaker wants to weigh in, he can, but I think this is just to get sent over to the county.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it's just our standard procedure.
Yep. Is there any other discussion?
Question?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
In that packet.
3, we've considered the matter of declaring Juneteenth a legal holiday, a legislation authorizing Juneteenth as a legal holiday in the city of Elyria. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second by, I'm sorry, who was that? Who was the second? Mr.
I was.
Okay. Law Director Deary? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't know if, Mayor Whitfield, my apologies.
It's all good. It's all good. Well, happy belated Juneteenth, and this is, as you know, the federal government made Juneteenth a federal holiday a couple days before Juneteenth. So, the city of Elyria has to officially make it one as well. So we plan to present a resolution at the July 6th council meeting to make Juneteenth an official holiday in the city of Elyria beginning in 2022.
Okay. Law Director Deary?
Through you, Mr. Chair, my office has begun drafting an amendment to Chapter 165.04 to add Juneteenth to the list of holidays for full-time employees that fall under Chapter 165, and that's been speaking with our conversations with Mr. Farrell and Mr. Pulaski. Also, in accordance with Mayor's email correspondence directly from him and also from the HR department to address the floating personal holiday hours for those employees for this year's Juneteenth. In speaking with Mr. Pulaski, and I don't want to speak for him since he is much better at doing his job than I am in explaining it. My understanding is that codifying that will make things easier for him, for the non-union employees. Obviously, those employees that have collective bargaining agreements, that will work for, that'll work itself out with the bargaining agreements, as far as an MOU or what have you. And my understanding is that's already been done with AFSCME based on their language, and others will follow suit. But we have a draft that we will run past Mr. Pulaski, and then we'll go forward, but we will have that as well.
Okay, I guess, should I ask, the question is in regards to the matter declaring Juneteenth a legal holiday, should it be moving forward for the 2022, I think as the mayor referred that, or is it, I know it's just I know we're honoring, or there's discussions for the 2021, but moving forward, does that need to be a part of this resolution here, effective there? Law Director Derry, or
I'm sorry. I believe that if the mayor wishes to have council do a resolution, there's not an issue with that. But for legal purposes, there does not need to be a separate resolution. Okay. The ordinance updating Chapter 165, and then again, in negotiations with the bargaining agreements would need to be addressing that as well. But there's certainly no harm in doing a resolution.
Okay. I didn't know if this resolution needed just to specify based on what the mayor's referral was beginning the 2022 year. I mean, I know there's been conversations, but I don't know if this committee report needed to be, say that for the 2022 year. I don't know if it's just a formality or if that's how it's presented here is fine.
Through you, Chair, I think based on the conversations we've had with our labor attorney and work we've done with finance, we think that the way it reads is important to reflect that.
Okay, very good. Is there any further discussion? Ms. Davis.
Through you, Mr. Chair. So, what I have before me, so you're saying, of course, we're going to make Juneteenth 2022 a legal holiday for the city of Elyria. Also, I'm reading here that you're going to provide an additional 8 hours of personal time to be used in the calendar year 2021.
You want me to respond to that?
Yes, please.
Yeah, through you, Chair. So a part of I mean, it was a long process, but a part of what we went through internally and talking with the labor attorney, there was technically one union that whatever the federal holiday is, they automatically get it. But they only had 2 days to plan for it. So a part of it was, you know, are we not going to show up to work tomorrow? And so they made the commitment that, hey, what we'll do, we'll sign an MOU, we'll take the floating holiday as 8 days and use them later on in the year, as opposed to just nobody showing up on that, it would have been that Friday before the Saturday. So as a part of that, we also know other unions would like to, you know, be given that opportunity to also celebrate the holiday and get it as well. So part of our bargain was to provide the 8 hours floating, as opposed to people asking for double time for working that Saturday, or people just not showing up on Friday or Monday.
Through you, Mr. Chair. With the 2-day signing of the holiday, I have no problem with it, but they only had 2 days, and so now you say a certain part of the union is saying that the legal holiday, since it's a legal holiday, and then also may I ask, what union is it?
Through you, Chair. So AFSCME, based on their contract, they could have just said, we're not showing up tomorrow, or they could have said, we want double time for everybody showing up. But I think they understood, and we've had a good relationship with them. They understood that, hey, this is short notice, so we'll take the MOU. We won't put the city out like that, and we'll take our 8 hours throughout the year, as opposed to leaving the city shorthanded like that.
Does the contract say that they didn't have like a month, or it just instantly give you your 8 hours?
Yeah, and that's why it's kind of crazy.
Can I get a copy of that?
Yes, for sure.
Law Director Derry wants to weigh in.
Yes, Mrs. Davis. Actually, what the contract says is that the union members will observe any holiday that is approved or recommended by the President of the United States. So what we were actually doing, everyone, mayor included, we were watching as President Biden was returning from Europe, and we were I myself had C-SPAN up on my computer, waiting to see at what time he was going to be signing this. It was 3:30 on the Thursday, and because it was going to fall on Saturday, it would have been observed on Friday. So actually, what we were looking at is 3:30 Thursday afternoon, trying to figure out what we were going to do if this federal holiday was going to be basically the clock was going to strike midnight. And again, you know, we have people working around the clock. Is that going to mean that we're going to have police saying, oh, it's a federal holiday, I need to be paid, I'm making this up, quintuple time? Because again, you know, we didn't have enough time to say that trash was going to be delayed a day. We didn't have enough time to, a plan for coverage at the fire stations. And we were doing a lot of research because, honestly, this was very exciting, but this hasn't happened in 40 years, over 40. In 1983, when Martin Luther King Day was established, it was established 3 years down the road. So this was, it was a very, very exciting event, but it was also a very extraordinary event. And for legal geeks like me, this was something, the listservs for dorky law directors like me, which we have one, we were going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So this was, I think we were very fortunate that we do have, and the mayor and safety service director do have good, although I believe the safety service director somehow dodged this one. And was like someplace very, very nice and fancy, other than the city of Elyria. But I believe it was very fortunate because that is how the wording in the AFSCME contract is written.
Wording.
Mr. Tolet.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Basically, then, the city administration, everyone had about 8 hours notice. Is that about accurate, 4 in the afternoon until midnight, to make all the decisions of moving forward?
I think you could count your hours in several different ways, but I think that's probably fair.
And so with that being said, so that's all, every employee will get, it's banked. Is that correct? Okay. All full-time. Director, Finance Director Pulaski.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that in the resolution, you give me the authority, or the city has the authority to give 8 hours of holiday time to all the other unions and the non-bargaining groups, because if you're making the holiday effective 2022, somehow we have to address 2021 on what we're doing for everybody else other than AFSCME, because their contracts say when the holiday is declared by the mayor. And that's how non-bargaining is worded as well. So I think we have to address 2021 in the resolution to make sure I have the authority to give them, everybody, 8 hours, every full-time employee 8 hours.
Okay. Law Director,
yes.
Hold on, Mr. Oswald, if you would hold on one second.
So through you,
Law
Mr.
Director Derry.
Chair, yes. So what we have proposed is that the updating of the Chapter 165 provision will address the 8 hours for this year for the non-bargaining, and that the resolution would address the other bargaining agreements. Based upon the declaration going forward. And obviously, we'll circulate a draft to make sure that if there's any holes or it's something else that you think is insufficient, that we'll have some time to remedy that.
Mr. Tolet.
Through you, Mr. Chair. Shouldn't this then go through under suspension of rules and declared an emergency because of the timing on this? Because technically, I think this time could be taken right now by some employees. Is that accurate?
I think, through you, I think that there's a memo of understanding, I believe, with the AFSCME union. So I think that everybody else would be able to take it once this resolution goes into effect. But I agree that it should probably be passed on emergency, because I'm sure we're going to have people wanting to take the day off.
We do have.
Mr. Oswald, Mr. Oswald.
Through you, Mr. Chair. This is for Mr. Pulaski. So the federal government bestowed this holiday upon us. All our employees are very happy. What is this approximately costing the city now in extra wages for a year? A very
Can you
little bit.
repeat it?
I'm sorry?
Can you repeat that, please?
Okay. How much is this holiday that we now have to pay our employees? What's this gonna run the city? Because it's something that we didn't have planned in our budgets.
Well, I mean, if you pay holiday time or regular time, it doesn't change the budget. So if their base pay for the year has been appropriated, it's gonna be in the budget.
One extra day that they're getting.
No. So a person gets paid $50,000 a year, whether it's regular time or holiday time. You either charge it to holiday, regular, or vacation. So it's not going to have an effect on the budget per se, just that you're going to have one extra day off. Where the cost comes in is if, moving forward, if somebody gets called in or held over on the day the holiday is observed, there's the clauses in the union contract that allow double time. So that's where the extra cost comes in.
Thank you. Ms. Keys? Okay, very good. With that being said, does the motion to have it on an emergency, does you concur with that, Mr. Baird?
Yes.
Second?
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda, we've considered the matter of capital items utilizing issue 6 capital funds. Monies have not been appropriate, nor is authorizing the use of issue 6 capital funds to purchase 2 Ford Escapes for the building department, a total amount of $54,000 for both. Suspension of rules and emergency clause is requested. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tillett. Safety Service Director Brubaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's actually 2 items on here. There was also a generator unit for the fire department at $35,000. But to address the first one, and speaking with Mr. Strozak, we will be able to get by with 1 Ford Escape. We had to take one out of service in the building department because it was old and the frame was bad on it. We were hoping to get another year out of that. That did not happen. The second Escape that we have down there is not as old, and he was able to make the repairs on that to get us through to kind of save us a few dollars till next year. However, last week I was informed by Mr. Strozak and Mr. Curtis in the street department, one of their oldest mowers for the street department blew an engine. Was not something that was due to user error. It was just an old mower. So what I am requesting, instead of 2 Ford Escapes, is 1 Ford Escape for $27,000 and 1 mower for the street department for $19,000, and then the 1 generator, a very large generator for the fire station number 3. Now, that unit there was originally in a request with issue 6 at the beginning of the year, but we pulled it due to the fact that we had so much going out in issue 6, and I kind of wanted to see where we were at. And then I got a request a couple weeks ago from Chief Mack that said we are putting more dollars into that generator to put Band-Aids on it. So he requested that we take another look at that. So I'm asking for additional appropriations of issue 6 capital of $19,000 for a mower, $27,000 for an Escape, and $35,000 for a generator unit for Fire Station 3, which puts us to an additional appropriation of about $81,000.
Okay. So just for the committee report, since we were going with 2 Ford Escapes, we need to amend that, I would think, yes, to show the mower. So we have 1 Ford Escape from the building, a total amount of $27,000 and then one, is there a lawnmower?
It's a Skag mower, yes, sir.
SKAG,
SCAG. For 19,000.
$19,000 even?
Yes, sir.
The second item that you're referring to, Director Brubaker, is going to be on a separate
Okay.
ordinance for this, so you can kind of more explain to that.
Okay.
And I know for Finance Director Pileski, I know we all refer to as issue 6 capital funds. Do we have to refer to it as issue the 0.5%? I don't, for
2016.50% income tax fund.
Mr. Chairman, I refer to it as capital because that's where Mr. Farrell puts the money that I can pull it from, so.
0.5%?
2016.50% income tax fund.
And the mowers for central maintenance garage or? Street department.
I apologize for that. It just
That's okay.
it hit me. I was out 2 weeks ago and they hit me with it last week, so.
That's okay. Mr. Pileski, are we okay with doing it, or Mr. Farrell, one ordinance under everything, or just two separate mowers? Or two separate?
One for each item.
Mayor reports. Yeah.
No.
One ordinance?
This is appropriation change, so unless
Okay.
you need ordinances authorizing the mayor to purchase, we just need one ordinance,
Okay.
one committee report, or an exhibit, just like always.
Mr. Pileski, is this going to be addressed under your appropriations amendment?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm just trying to think for my office, we won't need to necessarily do a separate ordinance then?
No,
Okay. All right.
not for my purposes.
All right, so then I'm
Okay.
just gonna add the one generator for fire station number 3, with a total amount of $35,000 to this committee report. Right.
That's the reason why it's here.
Okay. Right. Okay, so let me read the committee report again, just so that we're all clear. We've considered the matter of the purchase of capital items utilizing the use of the 2016 half% income tax fund to purchase the following: one Ford Escape for the use of the building department in a total amount of $27,000. One Skag mower for $19,500 for the use of the street department. And one generator unit for the fire station, number 3, in the amount of $35,000. Can I get a motion, with the standard emergency, is this an emergency, Mr. Brubaker?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. This
Chairman.
would be a standard emergency applies. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any further discussion? So we're using issue $6 to purchase this capital improvement. Mr. Jesse.
Thank you, Mr. President, through you. Mr. Brubaker and I had talked the other day, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time, but we had talked about wanting to get a couple more of the radar speed signs. Maybe one out of the issue 6, one from police department. How did you want to?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman, I know Mr. Jesse had brought to my attention about buying additional, the radar that goes up on the poles that engineering puts out. It tracks the speed of vehicles. It also gives us a count and what time of day and a whole lot of data to help a lot of different things. Our street resurfacing, it helps our police department. I'm not sure what the cost of one of those was. We can certainly bring that back at another meeting, but Mr. Jesse and I had that conversation to see if issue $6 was appropriate for that use.
Finance Director Pulaski.
Getting back to the appropriation change,
Yes.
I don't believe we do appropriation changes on an emergency, do we? Through you to the law director?
It just happens.
Through you, Mr. Chair, the appropriation changes, no. The ordinance authorizing the use of the issue 6 funds can be done on emergency and for ordering purposes. If we have a lead time on this truck and you want to go ahead and, put that order in, I have no idea what the lead time is on a generator or a skag mower, but,
We're only doing one ordinance, right?
yes. Well, the appropriations ordinance, but I believe that the reason that Mr. Brubaker forwarded this was so that, the committee would then forward and then full council would weigh in on utilizing issue 6 funds for this purchase. So we would go ahead and do an ordinance to authorize the use of the funds. So, but you're right, the appropriation, if the money's not been appropriated, then the emergency on the one, you're still gonna have to wait
I don't know if you need an ordinance utilizing issue 6 funds. You can just pass the committee report for that, I think, but.
True. Whatever council's most comfortable
Right,
with.
that's fine, but the appropriation change, there's no emergency on the appropriation change.
Okay. Mr. Chairman. Mr. Farrell.
Yes, I believe the reason Mr. Brubaker might have referred this is just because I've always asked him to keep council aware of the original list that we appropriate at permanent appropriation time, and then changes as we go throughout the year. So the dollars, in this case, will be addressed with the appropriation changes, but I think what he's trying to do is just let everyone know that these additional items will be purchased.
Correct.
Okay. So with that being said, we've had a lot of discussion in regards to it. So is that how the committee report is presented? Is this okay? I mean, trying to expedite the process. I don't know if what we have presented and what was voted on is other than the emergency or.
That can be an emergency, but because the appropriations are going to be dealt with on the last item on the agenda,
Okay.
correct?
Yep. Okay. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay. In the order they're going. Yeah. All right, we've considered the matter of finding the city as the property that is unfit and no longer need for public use, and a resolution or authorizing the safety service director to declare certain city property unfit and no longer needed for public use per the attached list. Suspension of rules of emergency applies as requested. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gillette. Safety Service Director Brubaker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this evening, I put at everybody's place a list of the items that were presented to me by Mr. Strozak at the Central Maintenance Complex. These are all items that we would like to place in the city auction on July 17th. This is something we last did, I put the legislation here, we last did an auction in 2017, and I believe I added the legislation from that in with the referral, so we're just asking for approval to add these items to the unfit for public use, and that will allow us to dispose of this stuff through the public auction.
Good. Does the committee have all the lists in front of them? Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. This is the piggyback to that. This is the city, We've considered the matter of the city to dispose of property that is unfit and no longer needed for public use. An ordinance authorizing the safety service director to dispose of as best means possible city property that is unfit or no longer needed per the attached list. Standard emergency applies. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Baird.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. This is another piggyback to that. This is the city, consider the matter of city to dispose of property that is not needed and unfit for public use. In order to authorize the safety service director to dispose of city property that is not needed and unfit for public use by the public auction to be held July 17th, 2021. Suspension of rules and emergency applies. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. We've considered the matter of a changes to the salary ordinance, an ordinance to amend the salary ordinance to increase the wages of the part-time muni court security bailiffs per the attached. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr.
Moved
Chairman.
by
Second.
Mr. Baird, second by Mr. Tolet. I had a conversation with Judge Bennett last week in regards to the increase of this hourly rate from $16.87 to $18 under what he is recommending. They're just finding hard to get individuals over there for the bailiff's position. So he's asked us to kind of have this referred, and here we are in front of us. So,
Mr. Chair, my understanding these are part-time positions, hence the hourly rate.
right.
There are no benefits.
Right.
Mr. Farrell's
Mr. Farrell?
at the helm.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if you recall, sometime in the past, and on the most recent consolidated salary ordinance, all the muni court positions are on the same salary ordinance, so they're full-time and part-time. So this isn't part of the part-time seasonal ordinance that takes care of the rest of the city employees, but it would be part of the muni court ordinance, I guess I would refer to it as.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Is there any further discussion?
Question.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item number 7, we consider the matter of the tax budget for the fiscal year of 2022, an ordinance authorizing the finance director to adopt the 2022 tax budget beginning January 1st, 2022. Emergency clause is requested due to the filing deadline with Lorraine County Auditor's Office. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Finance Director Pulaski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you all are aware, that every July we're required by the Ohio Revised Code to prepare and submit what they call the tax budget to the Lorraine County Budget Commission. This then becomes our starting point of our certificate of estimated resources for this case being 2022, which basically is the document that enables you to appropriate monies by fund and fund type. So what this involves, because we're doing it 6-7 months before the year starts, I have to basically estimate the cash balance for each fund, what I think it's gonna be at the end of this year, beginning of next year, and then estimate the revenues for 2022, estimate the expenses for 2022, then to come up with a final balance at the end of 2022. So this particular tax budget, there's two big items that had an effect on this budget, one good and one bad. The good, of course, is the American Rescue Plan Act money, so our second payment of $9.3 million is included in the estimated revenue for 2022, and that, of course, is in the Special Revenue Fund group. The bad one is the loss of Bendix. So I had to lower income tax revenue estimates by $1.5 million for withholding tax that Bendix submits to Rita, and an amount that I cannot report that they pay on their net profit tax, on their net profits. I cannot make public tax information about individual taxpayers, so I can't report to you what that figure is. But at any rate, the income tax revenues are going to drop in 2022. There's no question about it. They're transitioning out, and from what I'm hearing, will be gone by the end of the year, or if not sooner. So that became a negative impact on this tax budget. So moving forward, we're going to have to keep a close eye on the three funds that receive income tax revenue, being the general fund, the 2016.50% income tax, also known as Issue 6, and the police levy fund. So the certificate of estimated resources will then be amended at the beginning of next year when I know the actual carryover cash balance. When it does not become an estimate, I'll have the actual figures at that point in time, and then that will become our basis for the appropriation amounts for next year. Upon approval by council, then I'll submit it to the Lorraine County Budget Commission. But you can see it's all broken down by fund type, and then I have backup for each individual funds under each fund type group. That's about it, unless you have any questions.
Questions for Finance Director Plesky? Mr. Baird?
Not a question, just a comment. Thank you. This is what we've become to know as our midsummer exercise. Doesn't mean much, but we have to do it. So we move forward with it.
Okay. Very good. Any other questions for discussion? Questions have been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Item 8, we've considered the matter of the 2021 permanent appropriation changes. An ordinance authorized to amend the 2021 permanent appropriation ordinance number 2021-50 per the attached. Can I get a motion to get it on the floor?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Baird.
Second.
Second by Mr. Tolet. Mr. Farrell.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, there's 3 this evening. In Community Development Block Grant, Economic Development Department, Operating and Maintenance, an additional $50,000. In the 2016.50% income tax, Capital Needs Department, capital outlay. From what I'm hearing, we're down to $81,000 for the items that we discussed earlier. And then in the Muni Motor Vehicle Fund and Department, we're transferring monies from capital outlay to debt service to make a payment on an infrastructure bank loan.
All right. Is there any further discussions in regards to that?
Question.
Question's been called. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
There's nothing more to come before this committee. I entertain a motion for adjournment.
Move we adjourn, Mr.
Moved by
Chairman.
Mr. Baird,
Second.
second by Mr. Tolet. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. That was the extra one.